right, and welcome to the first ever brand new community conversations. As many of you may or may not already know, in 2013 we created this thing called A Song, A City, very simply as a music tour, and since then it's continued to kind of function in its own little ways. And in the past year there's been a lot of different stuff going on, and one of the most exciting things is there's been different friends of mine that I've known for a long time, who we've been collectively collaborating and working together a lot more than we ever have, and it's been really cool, new, and exciting. And there's been a lot of conversations, and within a lot of the work that we've been doing, there's also just been a lot of different aspirations for the different reasons that we have to be doing this work that we've all been doing since the beginning of time, in our own lives, but now through the lens of A Song, A City altogether. And so we're really excited to introduce this first community conversation around our own individual aspirations for A Song, A City. For me personally, and I'm just gonna kind of start it off, and then as I famously say on the podcast, sit back and be quiet, and then just listen to what other people have to say. Because I'm honestly, especially through the lens of A Song, A City, I'm very curious to hear all of those things. I know for me, when we started as a music tour, it was really just this idea to use music as a vehicle for change, as a vehicle to raise awareness for spina bifida and hydrocephalus, and to bring people together, to foster conversations. If you followed along with us, you notice that for me, an important part of that tour as well was the educational piece, and inviting new people in that had no idea what spina bifida and or hydrocephalus was. And I wore these flashy red pants that had spina bifida down one leg and hydrocephalus down the other, with 2 Canadian flags on the butt. And it was so cool to see people's heads, like as we were busking on the streets, or we were in the different clinics that we were in, or wherever we were, like people's heads just turn to like try and read what was on my legs, and they'd come up to me and be like, Hydra, spina, what is that? And that was the coolest thing, because that was the purpose of those pants, beyond being like a cool fashion statement. That was the purpose of those pants, just to foster conversations around what the heck is Hydra. Am I saying that right? And to foster conversations around these big, scary words, and to break them down in a way that wasn't scary, that wasn't overwhelming, that made sense. Hydrocephalus has to do with the brain. Spina bifida has to do with the spine. Both of them are connected a lot of the time, not all the time, but they're anyways. It was just very cool, and so that educational piece. The entertainment piece, of course, because we were playing music and trying to pull people in through our entertainment, and the empowerment piece, to then at the our last stop on the tour, to be able to work with our community. And I was saying it the other day that we have like the picture of you and your mom like front and center, of like just wailing on the drum as we're writing the final song of the tour in Izmir, Turkey. Was just so cool. But it was so cool to be able to come specifically on that tour together with a community of our fellow humans, SB&H humans, to write that song together, was just really cool. And for me, if I were to simplify like the overall purpose, and my kind of own aspiration and why, is to continuously see that education, entertainment, and empowerment through the vehicle of what it is we're all doing. But of course, I've been reflecting on those things since 2013, so I have an unfair advantage on so many of these new conversations that we're having. And I'm very interested to just chat more openly about what are other people's aspirations for A Song of City. I am just constantly curious.
Yeah, so I can start, I guess. My words are competence, growth, and contribution. For me, this is a good mix of what I want the space to be.
Mm.
I want this to be a space that comes from all our inner like knowing that I am worthy, and I have this inner power. Of course, life is going to be shit sometimes, but I feel like most of the spaces in our in the say disabled community, and yeah, on social media is first and foremost focused on problems, and like, oh, sad poor me, and this is not working, and this restaurant or this person treated me like shit, so, and then figuring out like, but there are good stuff too, but it's like, I want to flip that perspective. So coming from this, I wouldn't say positive, but yeah, positive, like, space, and inner knowing that life is fundamentally good. And then stuff happens along the way, and what you bring into this space, into this life, into this world matters. And you matter exactly as you are, with all of your stuff, outside stuff, but that is not who you are.
Yes. Love that. Thanks for sharing that, Ina. Rewriting the narrative. I think we started doing that. Gosh, we got a long way to go, but we started doing that. Eva and Alexis, are y'all gonna play rock paper scissors for who goes next?
No, I can go.
Go. I just low-key wanted to see you play rock paper scissors actually on camera. I don't know if both of you know what rock paper scissors is, but like I love that game.
No, I'll go. So I said create, unite, and educate. So it's important to educate people because, like you said, people don't know what spina and hydrocephalus is. To that point, it's not spina bifida and hydrocephalus, but I had a t-shirt that said, I love sledge hockey. And I wore it out, and somebody literally stopped me and goes, what is sledge hockey?
Yeah.
So I talked to them for about, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, and they're like, that is so cool. So we just need to educate people, because it's not that they're trying to be mean about it, it's just they don't know, right? Yeah. So if they don't know, I love it when they ask questions, because it's like they want to know, they just don't know how to approach it, which is totally fine. And unite, because, you know, I mean, it's nice that we have our own little community, but it's beneficial, I don't know if that's the right word, to have people outside the Spider River and that established community.
Yeah.
And it's like our circle grows,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like when we have, I don't know what the word is, like people that are the non-disability community. I don't know if that's the right term. That come towards us. It's like, well, then they care about us, right? So we're uniting. It might be in a different way, but we're uniting, right? And I chose create because we just want to create a world for everybody, right? Because I know what it's like to feel excluded, and it's so not cool, and nobody should live with that.
No.
Right? So I take that in the lens of like my niece, who in her own innocent little mind, we create like relationships, right?
Yeah.
They don't care what we look like. So why should everybody else? I just wish people would look at the lens of like little kids and just be like, cool.
Yeah, I actually love that you referenced that story. I know you've shared it before, and I often reflect on like, what if adults could just hold on forever to the curiosity that kids have? Because kids, a lot of kids are just curious. They don't know, and they want to know. Like they want to understand. Like why is that person? Why do they look different than me? Like why? And it's just curious, like, and then it's so often all those other things that somebody's like born into in terms of societal norms that continue to shape like what they think about somebody who lives with a disability or lives differently than they do. But like if we could always just remain curious and just ask questions, instead of always have answers, that would be, I'd be so cool. It'd be so great. I feel like I'm constantly, very often, trying to balance. I don't know about any of you, but I feel like so often I'm trying to balance the things that I know and can say like, this is what we should do, versus just being curious around like, should we really do that? Because like there's this balance, especially when it comes to say like we're now like getting in through the lens of A Song of City into that like balance of leadership and like moving forward and continuing to grow and unite and do all those things. And so it's like such this interesting balance of like, this is gonna work, let's go, versus like will it work? Maybe we should ask more questions, maybe we should it's such an interesting balance, which I do not have any answers to how to best navigate. But we constantly learn.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please. Sorry.
So it's okay. One other story that sticks with me is I was in college, and they paired us with able-bodied people just in case, which I totally understand. And my last roommate in college said to me, I never knew what you had to go through till I lived with you. And I'm like, look, if you don't know somebody in a wheelchair, you don't, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Right? But she took it all in, and I could see her taking it all in. So I love that comment, because I was like, well, you know what? You're realizing what we have to go through. Yeah. Right? So I love that too, and that always sticks with me.
If I could just say that, or kind of speak to some things you said as well, Alexis, one of the things that got me thinking specifically around the educational piece is like continuously trying to figure out ways to like the engagement piece, because like educating people is interesting, and then in my brain I think, cool, but then what? So you more now, but like, are you open to hearing how you could actually be an ally to us now? Like having learned all this new information that you didn't know before, can we like you're now more educated. We would love to have you more involved, to be an ally, to, work with us, to, be a part of the things that we're creating. kind of creating those tools to help almost create like next steps. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So there's like, cool, I have this new information now, but then what next? Because I feel like that's another piece, because like somebody can learn something new, and then just go back into their own life as if, you know, they didn't actually learn anything new, and just go back to perpetuating the same, you know, the same things. But I know, for a lot of the conversations that we're having, it's hopefully creating some sort of impact where like people start to potentially live their lives differently now because of like the new perspective that they've gained, and stuff like that. So anyways, I don't know if any of that made sense, but I love this idea of like, cool, you have this new information, but then what? Like, you know, what is that new information actually going to affect how you know, act in the future, or how you talk in the future, or what your relationships look like in the future? Yeah.
And we also have to, like, sometimes, like with me, if I get too much information, like I shut down, right? So we want to educate people, but we want to give them so much. Then they're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
too much. Stop.
Yeah. I feel like that's another, you know, it's another fine balance, because it's easy to overwhelm people with like information.
Also the balance, I feel, at least, I don't know if you can relate, speaking of unite, I feel we of course stick to what makes us different, or the part that is different. But first and foremost, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
So can you relate, like, to the feeling of people knowing that, spina bifida and hydrocephalus is this, and blah blah blah, and going, I feel so sad for you.
Yeah.
This must be so hard.
And I'm like,
oh, go away.
Remember, somebody said to me once, "Oh, I feel bad for you," and I just went, "Why?
Yeah.
Like, why?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, if the worst thing I have to complain about is not feeling my legs, I don't care. I'm good.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And also who I am is not in my legs and
Oh, I love that. Sorry.
my feet.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a complete person, and if you look more at my feet and my legs than you do like looking at my eyes,
Yeah.
and like taking all of me in, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
Or it's the same as like when people just see the wheelchair and that's it. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's an extension of me. But that's not me.
I think I think it's so interesting, because I think things like this that both you, Ina, and Alexis are both kind of referring to, they're so much rooted in how societally we have grown up as a society, with the different societal norms within the fabric of, you know, things created in a certain way. And so I think there's two pieces, because that, again, that educational piece is one, but then on the other end of that needs to be a human that's able to go, oh yeah, you're actually right. The world was created to best serve, say, able-bodied people. somebody like me. Oh yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. How like the world is not accessible. It takes a human to actually like receive that education and actually go, oh yeah, versus like, I don't know, feel attacked and unable to reflect on their own stuff. Unable to reflect on the not opinion but fact that the world is not accessible. It's just not. How many restaurants could you go to where it's like, oh, that restaurant's not accessible? That, not to pick on all restaurants. Like how many concert venues could you go to? How many different places could you go to where it's realistically just not accessible? And so to receive information like that through somebody who has real life lived experience, that educational piece is important. And then I think as human beings, we have to get to a point where we're able to also reflect on just some of those things that are realistic, are realistic, are reality, are, that societal norm perpetuated, narrative, and that narrative that we're trying to flip on its head, and that will continue to try and flip on its head. I don't know if that's the best way to refer to it, but yeah. Anyways,
and people's idea, is accessible.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like getting in the door. I'm like, no, it's so much more than that.
So much more. Yeah.
And then I tell them like everything else, and they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah. So that's the education piece. Because I'm like, yeah, we can get in the front door. Can we go to the bathroom? Yeah. Can we go here? Can we go here?
Yeah.
Can we reach everything?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah.
And also are these places which are owned by human beings, are these human beings willing to change?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not just their physical space, but like acknowledging to us and to themselves that, oh, my place is not physically accessible to you, but I'm willing to change and help you. Could we during whatever needs to change?
Yeah.
Is it okay if my staff helps you? Like, it's also about that.
Yeah.
We need each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to shorten the gap.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting even talking about accessibility, because like say the washroom being accessible, the front entrance being accessible, those different things that we often don't necessarily think about in terms of all the different layers to accessibility. And of course there's so many other layers to accessibility. But I think it's interesting because, even like, not just for say a community of disability, but say if things aren't accessible, you won't be able to attract people maybe of a certain age, because maybe older folks have, as they get older, they've got some of those accessibility needs as well, just through the process of aging, and so you start to deny so much business, you start to deny so many people. And I think it's so interesting because I know once upon a time it was like there was such a lack of conversation, and there still is a lack of conversation. A lot of conversation still needs to happen around it. But being able to say quantify these things, to say a business owner, to say, listen, this is what it might cost for you to make things accessible, but this is the percentage of humans in the world that live with accessibility needs, and this is all the business you're missing out on, all the business you're not getting because your place is not accessible. Your place is not as inclusive as it could be. So Ina, as you said, let us work with you to kind of break down some of those barriers that exist, and then you'll get more business through it. So being able to like quantify it, so it's not just like this, I don't know, this big dreamer kind of thing, just let's change the world. No, like that will actually bring you more money. It will actually bring you more money. So it's not just like this dreamy thing. It will bring you more money. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes, like I give credit to people who try. It might not be the most accessible place.
Yeah.
If you give an effort, I'm okay with that. But some people, I've heard of people that don't want to make it accessible, and I'm like, you're hurting yourself too.
Especially today in an age where it's become so much cooler. I always very cheesily think of rock and roll because in music and amongst people you'll hear like whispers of like rock and roll died and stuff like that. I don't think it ever died. I just think it got a little bit of like a facelift or like a little bit of a change injected into it. And I think through rock and roll today more than ever, and through music today now more than ever, it's cool to care. Like it's just cooler to care about stuff that matters. That needs to change. That needs to be a thing that just changes, period. So not only is it good for business and the just thing to do, but it's also cool, so just do it. Because it's going to be great for you, and everybody will be happy and everybody can go to your place. And anyways, we could commit a full community conversation to accessibility, which I'm sure we will. Diva, you've been quiet there.
I know. I'm listening. I'm listening. Well, my words of aspiration have, I've chosen exploration, integrity, and connection, which I feel that you all have been talking about, and everything we've talked about, everything that has been talked about today is very important to continue to talk about and explore different possibilities. Because as Ina said, there's so much victim mentality, martyrdom, this sense of lack, like everything is unfair, and very, very little of possibilities which are out there. There are actually people living their lives in this inaccessible world, and they are thriving. I mean, we four do, for example. It's not risk-free. I mean, we risk a lot being in an inaccessible environment. One stupid little anecdote, it's like, for me to get to work, I need to take the subway, and to get from subway to my office, I need to take an elevator. A couple of times it has been broken. So I'm stuck, you might think. But I can take the escalator, or at least I could, before it became illegal for wheelchair users to use an escalator. So
illegal?
Yeah. Haven't you seen the little signs where there's like a sign over a wheelchair user with a cross? It's crossed over.
Whoa.
You can actually, if you get caught, you will have to pay a fine for that.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
That is so stupid and crap.
Yeah. What?
And there are no people that you can talk to because they are upstairs where you can go to. So there's no way for you to go call for help if you don't have your phone on, of course, and God knows how long that helpful it's going to take for it to come. So a couple of times I did what I do sometimes and broke some rules, and I took the effing escalator. And I think this happened like 3 times. There was a security guard
Oh my God.
next to it upstairs.
The Rolling
looked at
Diva,
him.
everybody.
Yeah.
Round of applause. The Rolling Diva. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So I'm coming up the escalator and this huge dude just stands there. I look at him, he looks at me. I look at the elevator, he looks at the elevator. He's like, looks down at me because he was huge. He looks down. I didn't see you here. Have a nice day.
Oh, yay. Yeah, I think if you feel comfortable doing it, you should be able to do it. Like,
well,
yeah.
I don't feel comfortable doing
No,
it because I can, if I'm, let's say that I haven't slept well and I'm out of shape. If anything goes wrong, I can break my neck or injure someone. So there's a lot of exploring for us to do. What are the incredible things that we actually do are capable of, or our abilities, and how we are moving the world forward, because that is what we are doing, a lot of us. What are the downsides as well, especially when it comes to victim mentality and martyrdom and the sense of black. What damage can it do? Yeah, that will be interesting to explore.
Yeah.
And the solutions for everything, do we have any, or do we just have questions? And if we have them, we should ask them. I have too many questions all the time.
But that's also a good thing. It's also a good thing to have questions.
Because if you don't have to ask questions, you can't get answers.
Exactly. And sure, knowledge is power if you use that knowledge, because unused knowledge is useless. It's absolutely useless.
And I didn't mean to imply you were comfortable using the escalator. I'm just meaning like people have the choice to do it. That's all I was saying. So I'm sorry if I offended you, but I was just saying like you chose to. So okay.
You haven't.
Good.
You haven't. Absolutely not.
Good.
We got a good group here.
Yes, we do.
I love it.
Of course. And I mean, what choices do I have? I can sit there and wait for someone to assist me, and I don't know how long that's going to take. And that would mean that I will be late to work. And how many times a week, a month, a year is that acceptable for my boss before they kick my ass? Then I won't be able to live in my apartment and take care of myself and be independent. So a broken elevator can be a huge problem. It can be a huge problem. And it won't get fixed by just standing there and smiling at it, as some people think. I'm thinking about the Instagram activists. I posted a picture. Woo! You have done nothing.
I mean, it's so interesting because there's so many different there's so many different layers to it, and certainly if you're just making posts, it is putting, you know, different perspective and different awareness pieces out there to the world. But yeah, there's a lot more to creating change than just putting a social media post out there, for sure. Absolutely. For sure.
The next one was integrity.
Yeah.
And it would be really interesting to discuss the importance of integrity and because I felt during my life that I had to, what's the word? Have less of it to be able to
Sacrifice? Sacrifice your integrity?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To be able to survive.
Mhm.
And from the people I've talked to, they felt in the similar way. And I don't know that if many people think about that because we talk about how integrity is important, how boundaries are important, how saying no is important. And yes, it is. But sometimes it costs a lot to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be really, really bad to not to have that.
Yeah.
You can get hurt. What the balance? It's always a balance.
It's so hard.
And it's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. If I could just say that, when I think of the word integrity, which I love that word because I think it is important. When I think of that word, I guess naturally start to look through the lens of what that's looked like for me as like a songwriter or a musician working and or collaborating with people. And I know as like a young dude, I never wanted to sacrifice any of my artistic integrity ever. No way. As I've gotten older, I've started to realize, yes, there are some pieces that like, if you know somebody wants to make a change and like that doesn't make sense, then I'll maybe push back a little bit. But I'll also, before I push back, kind of reflect on why is that important to me? Like, why am I pushing back on this? Why am I just doing it because like just for the heck of it, or do I have an actual reason that's important to like the fundamental process of what integrity looks like? And then, you know, fast forward to today in like A Song, a City, and you know who we partner with or who we work with or whatever, and what partnerships look like, and you know, continuing to move forward. Would it be really crummy for our integrity as a whole to partner with somebody who doesn't care about accessibility whatsoever? No, that would be a really crappy partnership and not make sense whatsoever to the purpose to why we exist and why we do the work that we do. So we would be sacrificing our own integrity as a whole. Anyways, I think that word integrity and the push and pull of integrity, if that makes sense, is so interesting. And again, still something I'm still trying to figure out.
We all do.
Yeah. It's an ongoing thing.
Oh, it's so fascinating, but important, like so important.
Where do you cross the line between having integrity and having less?
Yeah.
And what consequences are you willing to face? That would be interesting to explore. And the last one is connection and connection with others, sharing our experiences, learning something new from each other. All sorts of people who are interested and like to listen.
Yeah.
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 It took me a long time to realize if people don't want to connect with me, it's not on me. It's their own thing, right? Because I used to be like, well, why can't I get along with these people? So I kind of took it inward, and I'm like, no. If they don't want to learn these things, it's not on me. It's their problem.
Mm.
Well, we can't force people to do anything, really.
No,
And not everything is for everybody. That's the
No.
way it is. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be liked by everyone. I'm not going to be nice to everyone every single day. It's like, if they're not my people, they're not my people.
yeah.
I think that those things are still some things I'm learning.
Yeah. Well,
Trying to learn anyways.
It takes time. My God.
Yeah.
I mean, couple of years ago, victim mentality,
Yeah.
martyrdom.
Yeah.
I have nothing.
Yeah.
I am worthless.
Yeah.
It's like, it takes time, and it takes practice, a lot of experience.
Can I ask you, because I know that was a part of your piece, Diva. How did you go from living? I know you've spoken to this before, but just I don't think you could ever speak to anything too much. How did you go from that victim mindset to, being passionate now about, say, helping people make the transition away from having that victim mindset, or just like that topic whatsoever, to really being a new person with a new mindset, a completely different non-victim mindset? How did you, like, what did you have to do to do that? I know that's a big question. I think it's just interesting in the spirit. I only ask that in the spirit of, like, again, I love like, what you had to say, Alexis, what you had to say, Diva, all the things you're saying. And I love all, like, even within this collective conversation, like the educational nuggets that will prompt people to think more or like want to talk more. But then I also love, cool, how do you actually do that? Like, what is one, one thing, and maybe that one thing that you did doesn't work for somebody else, but like maybe it does. And like, in the spirit of like creating possibilities, maybe that works. And if that works, if that one thing that you did is like the game changer, that's awesome. That's cool.
Well, that can be a whole book, if not two. But what I did was quite drastic. I think I spoke about it on the podcast episode that I was on.
Yeah.
I looked and had to make a decision. Either you go forward and learn how to do that, whatever, and do whatever it takes, or you go away.
Yeah.
Which I don't recommend to anyone. You should find your own way. But that was something that I learned from a very young age.
Yeah.
You either you do or you don't. I've relearned. I have become kinder to myself. But that was actually that more sadistic approach. I call it sadistic approach because it was very sadistic. Looking back on it, that kicked me in the butt. That was a kick that I needed. And sometimes things that are useful and helpful don't always feel nice. And I had a couple of setbacks. I probably still be having them for the rest of my life. But I really had to decide where I wanted to go, and find tools to move forward, which I'll be doing for the rest of my life, I think. Just to create my own toolbox. Like, how do I do stuff? How do I think about these things? How do I move forward? How do I build muscle? How do I take care of myself? How do I get a job? how do I make connections with people?
Yeah.
It has been a journey and still is.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to look at yourself and really see what, it was really important to me to see what I'm actually doing to myself by acting a certain way and what I'm doing to other people around me that were not very positive. I mean, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Ina, but you and I have known each other for a very long time. And you've been on this journey by my side. And it wasn't always pretty for you either.
Yeah, and that is life, I think. To be able to grow, I mean it's not just a straight line going up. It's like down and up, and then there comes a brick. I mean, so you try and you do stuff and you think, well, this doesn't feel so good, and this came out wrong, or and then you take a step back, and then you try something different.
Yeah, it's trial and error, really.
Yeah.
In whatever you do. In whatever you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that is life.
And I wasn't looking back on everything. I'm not built for giving up. Yeah. I don't think I am. I tried. It never seemed appealing for that long time. It's like it works like 1 or 2 weeks, and then just nah. I'm bored now.
I want to give up. But this is boring. No, I want to fight.
Let's go.
I want to live.
Fight.
Life is.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I just want to make mention as well, because I don't know, and both Ina, Diva, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but Diva, just in you know, like pointing to Ina and chatting the both of you about how like a part of the process and how long both of you have known each other, I feel like when you do find your people, leaning into those people and reminding yourself daily, like those are your people, they are there, whether that be your really good friends or your family or whoever your people are, leaning into them, because those are the people that want the best for you. They see maybe the things that you don't see in yourself, and they want the best for you and everything. And so leaning into those relationships, that's so, and I mean, as you just even said, for how many years it's been, and you both continue to be, you know, here and there and with each other, and like that's just, I feel like such an important part of the process. And then if you haven't discovered your people yet, keep looking to discover your people. And then when you get a sense of like, oh, that felt really good over there, where those people felt really, really good. Okay, cool. Be aware of that, and then go there. Go there and soak them up more, and try and be there, as opposed to try and be everywhere, specifically in those places that, you know, you don't necessarily belong. But being able to identify, like, Ina's my person, Diva's my person, and knowing that if nobody else, that is one person that you can say, listen, I need to say this to somebody, just for if no other reason, to get this out of me, just to like release that energy. I feel like that, to come back to the word connection. Actually, I didn't intend to do that, but to come back to that connection is just like so. It's so relevant, and it's so important. So important.
Yeah. It's give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get what you give.
Yeah, you get.
Yeah.
You get what you
and speaking of that, a couple of days ago, I came up with some sort of strange slogan.
Yeah.
I mean, you all know me by now. My brain creates strange things.
Oh, it's so good.
And the slogan is, life is like building my muscle whilst living with spina bifida.
Can you elaborate on that slogan, please?
Well, if any of you have tried to build muscle with a body that
I'm still
isn't-
trying. I'm still trying.
with a body that works on and off, sometimes off, a lot, it can get really tricky. It's very much up and down, blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of comedy, very dark, strange comedy.
Give an example.
Oh my gosh.
An example, oh God, I have a lot of them. How much time do we have?
Yeah.
It's like I've been training since 2013 now, I think. So I'm quite good at what I do. I've built a lot of muscle in places that my doctor said would be impossible to do, which is always a nice thing, if you ask me. But it's like having very small legs, at least the lower part of my legs are very small, but still very strong. Like, so couple of people at the gym where I train sometimes stop and look at me, look at my legs, look at the weight I put on the machine, and like, are really confused. Like, this human isn't big, but the amount of weight on that machine, my God, she's going to break.
Oh my gosh.
And then I do my sets, and like, that's impressive.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Thank you. I might look small, but I'm very, very small, very strong.
I can't wait till the day I'm in Sweden and I go to the gym with you and you just like completely show me up. And because I mean, I will have the lightest weight that there is, and
I won't let you.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, can I say another thing?
Yes.
Another anecdote.
Yes.
Last Friday, or this Friday, yeah, I went to a session with a group, and the instructor gave me. We know each other. We've trained a lot together, and he gave me this vest. Weighted vest, so it's like 10 kilos extra. And he said, use this when you do squats. And I was supposed to do squats, sit-ups, and push-ups. And I was supposed to do 100 each.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, okay, sure. Why not? I have an hour. This should go somehow. And somewhere during my first squat set, I decided that I'm not taking the vest off.
Oh my god.
So I did.
Oh my gosh.
So I did everything with the vest on.
You rebel.
And I woke up yesterday.
Oh man.
In like a ton of pain or what?
And the first thought was, uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I would say more than no, but
Oh
anyway.
my god.
Roll me out of bed.
Oh my gosh.
It took me 20 minutes to get out of bed.
Probably wouldn't have gotten out of bed. I probably would have just stayed there and
Mm-mm.
then just slowly and very quickly probably come to terms with like, this is my life today. I'm not leaving bed.
Don't do what I do. I know I'm quite. I am a bit insane. Yes, insane is the right word, but I like it.
Hey, you know what? If you're good with that, then
Yeah.
who's anybody else to question it, right? Oh.
Love
Pretty
that
much.
about you.
What's that, Ina?
We love that about you.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Talking
Heck
about muscles and stuff. This was a few years ago, but I was pushing myself somewhere. I was with my sister and she was behind me. And she went, "You have like no arm fat." I'm like, "No, because I push myself everywhere."
Yeah.
And she was so mad that I didn't have anything. Like no skin was jiggling, whatever. And I'm like, "But I use my arms every day."
Yeah.
She was so mad. And I'm like, "Well, sorry."
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. But you know.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
But she uses her legs every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, so my parents have a pool in their backyard, and she would race me at like, and I'd be like, "Okay, but you can't use your legs," and she's like, "Well, that's not fair." I'm like, "But I can't use mine,"
Yeah.
and then she was like, "Okay," and she's older than I am, and I would beat her sometimes, and she'd be like, "Oh my god," I'm like, "Yeah, but you know, that's just who I am, and my arms are stronger because that's all I got."
Yeah. Well, when we're all in the same room, I look forward to doing both rock paper scissors and arm wrestles, because I'm sure I'll lose to every one of you, 100% every one of you, because I'm that person in the gym who, literally, no word of a lie, I was in the gym a few years ago, and I was on this machine, and I had my headset in. It was a back machine, and I'm doing it, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy looking down on me. So I take my headphones out, and he's trying to say to me, "Why are you doing it like that?" And I was like, "Is there another way?" And he was like, "Move, let me show you, let me show you." And I was like, "Okay." And so he like properly showed me. Anyways, I started to train with him for a while, and it was incredible because he was like this like built like super big dude, and I started to train with him. And Diva, I had moments where like after trainings with him, I would wake up the next day and not get out of bed because I was like, oh my god, my legs today, they like, I don't know if they're gonna work. Like they hurt so bad. Oh my god. But that was a funny little moment of like, Danny doesn't know how to use the machines.
Happens.
Oh yeah.
Something, right?
What's that?
You learn.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now you know how to use it correctly.
That's right. And I low-key got a free trainer in the process, which was great for a while.
Yeah.
Ay. Anyways, this has been incredible. Does anybody have, before we close for today, does anybody have anything that we haven't touched on that wants to be touched on?
Should we tell people how often we're going to do this?
Heck yeah. So this has been an incredible conversation of our first ever community conversations. And we'll continue to do this once a month. There will be a new topic, new conversation that comes out right here on YouTube. And it might be the four of us all the time. There might be different friends on it. We'll continue to navigate that as we continue to grow these conversations and grow the aspirations for a song city. Look at that, full circle, came right around back to it. So thanks everyone for watching. Please don't hesitate to comment below. Join into the conversations by commenting below. Subscribe. Do not be a stranger, because this is a conversation that all of us are having, but connects a lot of our community in some way, shape, or form. And we'd love to continue to have those conversations with you. So please make yourself known down below in the comments, and send us an email, asongofcity@gmail.com. And we'll see you next month for another episode of Community Conversations. Bye.